Ready here.
We're going right now. Here we go.
Okay.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay. Hi, welcome all of our fellow dispatchers in the group for Tell Your Story episode number 5. I'm one of your admins, Rebecca. You have probably seen several of my posts lately. I am extremely excited to introduce our special guest for this episode number 5. We are here today with Miss Shanna Jackman. She's a 16-year veteran of our Thin Gold Line family, and she has taken some of her amazing talents of singing into a new career. And one of her songs that is dedicated to not only all first responders, but she made sure that she included dispatchers in it, is "Answer the Call." And if you have not heard the song or seen the song, you can Google it on YouTube as well as through her website. And we highly recommend that you go out and listen to that song, if not purchase the song for her. And she's got several other songs, and she'll get more into that information for us. I'm sure I'm going to pass this over to Shanna to kind of fill us in on her background and a little bit about behind the backstory of Answer the Call and how she came up with that song. Go ahead, Shanna.
Wow, cool. Thank you. That was so nice, guys. Well, first, thanks for what you're doing with this page and getting people together and hopefully reminding, we all can get a little burnt out sometimes. So the more community that we can build as dispatchers and how important that is. And also the camaraderie of knowing we are first responders is so important, and educating people in that regard. So my mother was a single mom of 2 kids and a dispatcher when I was growing up. So I kind of used to always say that I grew up in a police department. I was playing around as a little kid. The officers sometimes would pick me up from elementary school and bring me to the police station to meet her until she got off of her shift. And joined as a dispatcher in 2005 full-time, and became a reserve police officer in that time. I also was a crisis negotiator for our local SWAT team, rape crisis counselor, worked undercover with the state police for a little while, really just kind of dabbled in so many different things. Always maintaining being a dispatcher first. But I also am a singer-songwriter. So as you had said, Rebecca, I been singing and writing for many years. And it was around 2016, I met with 2 individuals, 2 writers and singers themselves, and knew that I wanted to write a song called Answer the Call to give light to what dispatchers do. To kind of give us a little support like your group does, just kind of like let them know, because we often are in this shell of a department or, facility, right, and no one knows who's on that other line. And so I wanted to highlight the type of calls that we get, and just as a reminder to my fellow dispatchers how important and crucial our job is, even when we can get pretty burnt out from it. So I got connected with a gentleman, Carpenter. He's in Nashville now, and we wrote and recorded it in Nashville. And he used to work for FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency. So I knew that he understood a lot of what we do and what emergency services do. And then Ayla Brown, who is from Massachusetts, was living down in Nashville at the time. And she was on American Idol in the past. And she is just a great singer, songwriter, and much supporter of our police, our military, our first responders. So knew this was the 2 people I wanted to write this song with. And that's how Answer the Call came out. It was recorded and released in 2017. But, honestly, a year ago, I never would have imagined, though, one dispatcher sharing it on TikTok would have blown up the way that it did. And what this dispatcher did is highlight a portion of the song that was a call that I learned in the beginning of my training. And that was over 16 years ago. So I knew this particular call, it just stuck with me as a dispatcher for my whole career to today, reminding us as dispatchers that you just never know what's going on the other side of the line, and that we listen to cues. And so this sparked a community of survivors of domestic violence, and so the stories that I've heard from people from all around the world now that have responded to the song in that way as a survivor, that are fellow dispatchers and first responders, that felt like, wow, you know, like this really brought it home for me, or this inspired me to apply to do this job. And I'm just like overwhelmed by the amount of stories and support, and it connected me to you guys. So, you know, it's just awesome to see where it's gone all these years. So, and I still work part-time. I still work for a police department that we dispatch mainly by ourselves. We dispatch for police, fire, and EMS. We also handle the business line, or take people who come in from the community, say they want their license to carry, or, you know, that kind of thing. So we're handling a multitude of things as one person. So it can be a little crazy, you know, when an emergency calls for all services and you're the only person making all those calls. So, but I commend those all in call centers. I was a member of NINA and APCO, and I went on conferences, and I got to really understand what other dispatchers do. It's not, everyone doesn't do we all do it for the same reason, but we all have
so many different levels.
There is. I had no idea.
Yeah. And going to those NINA conferences and the APCO conferences, it really does open your eyes to the, you know, the single dispatcher room, the kind of in between dispatch center, and then a large call taker radio operator center, and all the differences that are in each one of those levels of dispatching. So yeah, no, that's amazing. I really think around that same time that you wrote that song, there were some other individuals that were coming up with stuff, like Ricardo Martinez's I Am 911. And I really think there's a lot of dispatchers out there that were all feeling like, why am I suffering? And why do I feel so bad? And to know that there is individuals like yourself writing that song, Ricardo's program, and just there's a couple other things that don't come to my mind right now, but all around that same time that really uplifted a lot of people and just let us all know, like, hey, I'm not alone, and I'm not the only one feeling this way. So that's awesome.
I have to agree right there along with you guys that probably about the time I heard, you know, the Ricardo start his movement and everything, I was kind of getting to that point, like, where do we go from here? You know, it's like we got to bring more light to what we're doing behind the scenes and make people realize that we're part of this community, and, you know, we're just not simple secretaries and you know, people that we're not there just to answer the phone. We're doing so much more to protect our frontline first responders and stuff. And
it's not a job that you can go to school for. Like, this is like why I try to, you know, when people ask me like, well, how do I get the job? Do I need to go to college? I said, listen, college is great. I've been to college. I graduated, I have a bachelor's degree in communication, ironically, but you know, it's on the job training, and you're thrown in it. And it's from some of those larger call centers, it's months and months and months of training. For our department, it's spanned over a couple months, but then it's just, okay, here you go, try it.
Right.
Sink or swim, man, right?
Yeah. And it's you really don't know, honestly, that you can do the job until you're handed it, and you get your first call, and even then it's just, you know, it's being able to multitask. Like, I love when I've gone on job interviews for stuff outside of dispatching, and they're like, can you multitask? And I'm like, you don't know what a dispatcher does to you.
Right.
Right. Let me take it down a notch for you.
I remember going on a job interview when I'd gone through a period of burnout, and so I was out of the field for about 4 years, and I went on a job interview during that period of time, and it was for customer service. And during the interview, they had actually told me I was not going to get the job because I did not have any customer service experience. But I had almost 10 years of being a 911 operator before that. And I sat there for a minute and I said, okay, I said, I thank you for your time and stuff. And then all of a sudden it dawned on me and I said, can I just ask you a question? I said, exactly what makes you think I don't have customer service? And they're like, so they explained to me what they kind of were saying, what they were looking for and everything. And I said, so what do you think a 911 operator does? And so we kind of had a discussion and I finally came down and explained to him, like, do you realize that I said, the caller, the citizen that's calling 911 for help, they're essentially a customer to me at that point. And I said, they're calling me for a service, whether it be the police department, fire department, medical. And I said, and they're calling me at their worst possible time in their life, asking for me to give them instructions of what to do until that help gets there, as well as sending the help. And like, so at what part of that job is that not customer service? Because now you're wanting to hire me, or I'm trying to get a job with your company in essentially selling clothing and shoes and stuff. That's something you're doing, and there's nothing wrong with them at that time.
But honestly, like, Rebecca, like, when you first said that they didn't think you were good at customer service, I was like, yep. Like, because I tell you, we don't kiss butt, okay? Like, the other part, like, I would take it as a compliment, because we're not here to as dispatchers, we're professional.
Right.
We're respectful, but we get the job done. And we're not here to try to make, like, and I mean this in the most loving, like, compassionate way possible. But because we do this job not for the pay, obviously not for any recognition by any means, right? We do it because we care about our community and we want to be there for people in the need of crisis.
Right.
And we might have a slight issue with needing to be part of everything that's going on in the middle of it, right? Like, we love action. So, but I'm not, when people come into the PD, sorry, this is not Burger King, you can't have it your way. Sometimes this is just how it's going to be. And the people on the call that you're trying to help oftentimes don't want it.
Yeah.
So, like, to be honest with you, respectfully, I would be like, you know what? Yeah, I'm not probably that customer service that you're thinking of, but I always treat customers with respect and professionalism. And to me, I am a huge advocate for customer service. Those people come into the police department that walk in there, their first impression is us, whether on the phone or they see us in person. Exactly. We are the police department. They think we're coming to go.
Yes.
Like, they think we're getting in the car and leaving.
Yes.
They don't know.
Oh my gosh. How many times do we hear on the phone, why are you asking all these questions? Why are you delaying the help and not coming? Yeah. I'm not the one coming.
Yeah. I mean, I so much so that it's so important to educate our community. It's not for us technically to get recognition, but when a community understands who's on that other line, why are we asked these questions? What are we doing when you are in your, like, crisis, like, and we're trying to get those services to you? I do everything in my power, because usually I'm one person. We may have two people sometimes. Is I'm telling the caller, okay, you're going to hear silence. I'm toning now for the fire department, or I'm doing this, or I'm doing that, so they know what's going on, and because they can't see me, I think it's educational. I look at it as educational, like,
I think the reclassification is that way as well. I don't mean to cut you off, but, like, it's a lot of dispatchers are like, well, what's in it for us? Retirement, this, that, and the other. And it's more like, this reclassification can be more for the state legislators, the governors, the local municipality, city administrators, our police, fire, EMS administrators. Like, we're not secretaries. We are first responders, and the call starts with us. I've heard many times, like, the call starts with you. So, like, if you don't get the right information, the bad guy gets away, the house burns to the ground. So, like, if you want to talk to me that way, then you yourself, by saying that, recognize me as a first responder. So put it out there so the world knows that that's what we are and that's how we should be treated. And that's how we should see ourselves and behave that way.
Yeah, at the end of my video, I take some time and I if you watch the end of the YouTube video for Answer the Call, it's a lyrical video. But at the end, I put in it that we are the real first responders, right? The first responders. And God bless our secretaries. Like, I went to a school of office technology and I did administrative work. And again, when I always feel bad, like, we're not a secretary. Like, I don't want to say or insult the secretary's work isn't difficult, but it's not the same work. In the department that I work for, we are still, until up to recently, at least our contract is split now, but our contract prior to that for the day one is with the administrative staff. And they get Monday through Friday, or they get to leave early on Friday, and they have weekends off, and they don't have to work on the holiday. Oh, there's a water main break? I don't got to go to work. It's like, well, I do. I still got to go to work. I got to go to work in that snowstorm. I got to go to work on the weekend. We're not the same,
Exactly.
So it's that. It's just an absolute, it's no disrespect, but it's an absolute different classification, like you said, James. And so it's like, it's telling people that, and I kind of created this like voiceover one time during a little training I was going to make. And it says, when you see a police car, when you see, responding to a call, when you see a fire truck at a burning house, when I was thinking of all these scenarios, and then I came back to, who do you think got them there? Like, who do you think is the one that, got those services to you? We did. That was us, That is one, that was a one or multitude of group of people that collaborate together to get those services for you. So, yeah.
I do a lot of social media, and I came up with one where I took a picture of a console, a dispatch console, police, fire, and EMS vehicle. And I said, every first responder has a vehicle to get them to the scene. Ours is to get us there first. As soon as we pick up that phone, we're on scene.
Correct.
You might as well say we're already there.
That's right.
We're already there. Yeah. Already there. Take a look around. Everything's always a song. Sorry.
No, that's awesome. I think the three of us were wanting to have you sing, but thought we'd be too embarrassed to ask you.
I would be nervous. I'm always shy.
One of the questions I thought of as I was doing some of my research into you, Shanna, is in watching the YouTube video for the song Answer the Call, you touched on four. I picked up, three. One is kind of can go either way. Very hard calls that we can take, at any time. I mean, not that any of our calls are necessarily easy per se, but, you talked about someone in a car accident, they're alone, I think in the song you mentioned that they're upside down, and, and how do they summon for help, very personal, and, and it touches on, I don't know if you were trying to touch on like reckless driving, or, did they lose control on a slippery road, but it's, it takes, it just touched me with that part of it, because in my area, we've got horrible reckless driving going on right now, and lots of big accidents and stuff, and then you got the person that had essentially that was their last breath, and and luckily they had a medical alarm, pendant that they were able to summon for help since they couldn't get to the phone. And then you've got the probably one of the hardest calls we ever take is talking about domestic violence. And at first it doesn't look like that it's a domestic violence call because it's someone ordering the pizza. But some people are so torn with whether or not this is an accurate thing to I guess publicize that, if you need help and you can't necessarily talk to the 911, it's like you're ordering a pizza, and then you get the person, you get some of the dispatchers that are like, no, don't do that, because not everyone realizes that that's what you're trying to do and stuff. And yet you highlight that in your song. And when I do some of my other public communications, I do talk about the whole ordering a pizza thing. And like, if you truly are need help and you can't, just stick with it. And, hopefully your dispatcher will realize and pick up that you can only answer yes, no questions, and they will just go with the flow with it. And don't be alarmed if they say, man, this is not Pizza Hut. Do you realize you called 911? And you touch in that perfectly in the song.
Thank you.
And, but I mean, I how did you just determine, either between you or your writers, that those were the 3 areas that you thought needed to be highlighted in the song?
Awesome. Well, thank you for all that. First, whenever I sing it, like you said, the first verse just reminds you of the type of accidents that you're getting in your area and the calls. And when I sing this song, it is very difficult for me to hold into my emotions, because I'm thinking about all those calls that I've heard when someone's in a accident but sitting down with the writers, I said, okay, this is what I want to write. I want to write a song. I knew the title already. I'm like, this is what it's going to be. And so like, okay, well, what type of calls, do you get? Like, what type of, how do we want this song to go? And so listing some of the like more heart-wrenching and yet popular calls. We have a big elderly community in certain areas. So it's so sad that, you'll get calls and they're just by themselves and alone, and they've been on the floor for hours,
Yep.
And you think of that old commercial, like, I've fallen and I can't get up. And you're like, oh, it's so funny, like years ago. And now you're like, it's like legit. Like they legit little fall, can't get up, and nobody's there to help them. Like, it's like a legit thing. So, yeah, it was just thinking about all these type of calls that I've had. And then that, like I said, that like pizza call. And it's been, though, a great, what's the word I want to use? It's a platform I've had to use to educate people, though, on that. So I've gotten so many survivors. I didn't know you could do this. I didn't know there was a code. And I'd be like, no, this is not a code. There was a thing that went around prior to the song saying, oh, if you order pepperoni or if you order onions, they're going to know what you need. And
it happened one time, and now they're trying to, and I think way back in 1995, there might've been a domestic violence, anti-domestic violence group that put that out, because I vaguely remember my supervisor when I first started saying something like, be aware, if they're asking about, or they're talking about pizza, that might be the, to queue up on that, but to actually put it out there, it's kind of a
and so it's kind of thing, and people will interpret things however they want. Like, no matter how, Rebecca, thank you for saying I've done that very clearly, but you'll still get people that don't maybe get it right. So I say exactly what you say too. I'm like, this is not an official code that we all have trained about. We are trained on cues, not codes. But I'm saying this is what one person did, and it has been repeated, so many times over the years. You hear about it. I mean, Ohio was a recent one a couple years ago. I've literally had people. It was on Lone Star 911 recently. They actually had it in their episode, which was insane. So I'm like, I wonder if they heard the song, but whatever. I digress. But it's like telling people, like, but be persistent with your dispatcher. Be creative if you need to be creative. In my area, and in parts of many areas in the United States, you can text to 911 now, which didn't happen before. Your dispatcher will start asking you questions, and you can say yes or no, dial 1, dial 2, dial 3, like all that kind of stuff. So it's educating people at that, because they're like, oh, I wish I knew. And it's like, it was always there. We have always been there, and we will always listen. And when there's people that are like legitimately had a called accidentally, or kid play with the phone. I live in a smaller area where, it's not a huge city or anything. So we will go to those hangups. We will go to, someone even said, oh, sorry, it was a mistake, a misdial. Well, I'm going, because it's not nothing against you, but people say that.
You don't know.
People say, they'll just pick up the phone and hang it up and hoping someone comes. I always try to tell people, don't hang up the phone. If you can't talk, just leave it on, and I'll listen. I'll be your eyes, your ears, your everything. I'll do, so I meaning all of us, like, you know, and just educating that is so huge. But those were the three like really profound things that I think, you know, accidents, unfortunately, you know, one another can relate to. And then just, you know, I love the visual of like Wheel of Fortune spinning around as one of the lyrics, with the elderly person just sitting there. And, you know, just to really kind of get that. And every time I sing it, I'm like pressing my invisible life light alert button or whatever like, on my neck.
I see that Massachusetts is in the process. Are you involved in that at all as far as reclassification goes? I know there's a bill.
I would love to. I have not, like the groups, because I'm dispatching part-time now, like I was in so many different groups and committees as much as I could be working full-time. And so some of the organizations I was part of locally, like the local chapters for like NINA, and there's some other groups that were local. I'm sure a part of that. I mean, it's a really good point that I would love to jump on any type of campaign locally to get any chance I've got, because I've also sing the national anthem a lot for many military events. I started out as a reserve police officer singing in uniform at many different events. And people seeing me in uniform and singing, you know, I kind of represented that. And so I have spoken to so many people politically in my, you know, the events I've been part of about dispatching and first responders, and I'll get any minute I can to kind of explain, like, hey, do you
That's
know
awesome.
that we're not even,
we all appreciate that very
don't
much.
get the same. Yeah. I mean, like, it's not, I mean, if for somehow like I can have any influence just because of how this song has even reached other people, like, because it's a legit thing and I know it. Like, I'm not just someone who talked to a dispatcher or heard about this story. I've lived it, and I know, like, and had the union contract with the administrators who literally took away our swaps because they didn't have swaps. And it's like we don't have holidays and weekends. We use swaps internally so that we can swap our shifts with somebody if something happens. You know, it's just, you know, just the struggles that you get in your own. And it's I have so much pride and so much respect and so much love for the job. You know, and even internally, as you probably all know too, it's a struggle. Even the people that you work with to have the respect of what you do. But I think that has grown immensely.
Absolutely.
And although I can't watch some of these 911 shows because they're not legit, like they're really can't. I'm like, that's not how it happens. That's
I like watching the 911 because when they talk about their personal lives more, I mean, not all of it, but like how the job, the conflict between the job and your personal life. That's, you know, and because I think that's educating the audience as well, even though a lot of them are tuning in for the crazy rescues they do, which is why they do it, you know, because you got to remember there was an audience that they're trying to do. But I do like some of the back and forth between the characters about how the job affects them personally and how it affects their family life and the family life and how it affects their job. You know, that kind of is cool. Of course, what I really want is Emergency Call back on the air. Because
oh my gosh, I loved it.
You know,
that was a good one.
Was definitely much better.
Well, that's obviously like, oh, go ahead, Jim.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead, Jim.
What I was going to ask, Ms. Jackman, what you could do on your local level. I started at the county level and went county by county, notifying all of them in a 3-day period. Now, what it did, it got everybody curious because our home county of Kanawha County became the first group to make the dispatchers first responders. And then after I started calling everybody, they would say, well, who are you with? Or who are you supporting? And I said, I'm supporting every 911 dispatcher in the country. And so starting in your home county, you could go to your county government and say, hey, could you do a proclamation making all of the 911 dispatchers first responders? and it'll put you in the history books because it'll take off like crazy. The other counties will look at it and say, hey, we don't want to be left behind. We need to do the same thing.
Yeah, no, that's a great push to kind of encourage people. I mean, in Massachusetts dispatches way differently than I think any other state in the country, because we rarely have any call centers or regionalizations. So we don't have by county. Our county sheriffs work only mainly in the jails. They don't work on the road at all. There's no dispatchers for the county. There's all just individual towns. Or, you know, if there's really small towns, they'll have some real regionalization center for that. And then, of course, Boston has a little bit, you know, and the state police will do, they have a couple of network centers around. But it's important for us to reach out. It's all it takes. I mean, as soon as people start, like, just people don't know. And that's, you know, it's not their fault. You know, I think we've been quiet though for a long time.
For long, too long.
Yeah.
And your song and the other songs that you play make a huge dent in that silence. You know, you're blasting that message out there, and it's a huge help to all of us. And I just want to thank you because it touches me, and some of those lyrics is like, oh yeah, I that got me right here. You know.
Yeah.
Thank you. I just got an email from someone from my website, and they just said that him and his partner are EMS, and they were really feeling it this last year, you know, with everything with COVID and just personal life, and that somehow my song has kind of given them, you know, energized and to feel good about what they're doing. And I'm just like, wow, I feel so blessed that music, you know, has a way of connecting with people, that I somehow have the ability to help in that. I mean, that's just really I'm just so grateful that God has gifted me that ability to do so and to shed a little light. Like my other song, We've Got Your Back, is, you know, giving to our military and all those that are on the front lines and all those at home waiting for their family members to come home, or some that don't. And no, I think we are all such a big family. Yeah, I think
different ways to serve. You know, some serve the nation, others serve their communities at home. You know, but we all have our challenges. We got to wrap this up because we only have a half-hour Zoom.
I was just going to say, I'm like,
I'd love to keep talking, but we're about to dime out. So, Rebecca, if you have any closing remarks?
I don't. I just want to, you know, thank Miss Jackman for her time. And I mean, I wish we could go longer, but you know,
I can talk. So sorry.
Well, we've got your email and you've got ours. So anytime you need anything.
Miss Jackman, as the person that created this room, I'm honored that you were with us today. Anytime that you want to come in, you just let us know and we'll go with it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for all that you're doing, Jim, too. And you guys, thank you so much. Yeah. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. Well, we'll reach out again, or feel free to reach out to us. And thank you very much for your time.
Yeah. I'll be on the website, on the Facebook page.
Awesome.
We'll see you around. Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.